Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. Thanks for joining us here right now to learn a little bit more about Mount Holyoke College. My name is Annie Sullivan. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an Associate Director of International Admission. And I am the person responsible with working with all of our students from Canada. So I'm grateful to be here and to get to chat with you all this evening. I have a couple of current student athletes with me as well. So I'm going to let Cass introduce, go ahead, Cass, introduce yourself, and then Courtney, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Cass. I'm a junior at Mount Holyoke. I'm an economics major and psychology minor. I'm also on the varsity field hockey team, and I'm an admissions ambassador, so that's why I'm here.
Hi, I'm Courtney Dunham. I am a senior at Mount Holyoke. I'm on the varsity swim and dive team. I'm a psychology and education major, and I'm also an admissions ambassador.
Thank you both for being here. So we're going to hear a little bit more about the student athlete experience from Cass and Courtney in just a few minutes. But I'm going to start us off tonight by just sharing more about Mount Holyoke as a whole, right? Because of course you're here to be student athletes, so you want to hear what that full experience is all about. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Mount Holyoke at all, Mount Holyoke is a women's college. We're a gender inclusive women's college. And so that means we welcome women, students who identify as women or female, as well as non-binary and transgender students on our campus as well. We have about 2,200 students. They're all undergraduate, which is the level that you'd be entering in at. So all of our resources, all of our students, all of our faculty are all here to serve you. We are a liberal arts and sciences college, which I know you may have heard from some other liberal arts and sciences colleges already today, but that of course is not a reflection on everybody is an arts major. It's more of a reflection on the style of learning that we offer, where students are able to take a whole variety of classes. And we think that it's really important that you have that opportunity to do so. Some of the benefits of being at a small liberal arts and sciences college is that it's very easy for you to double major or pursue a major in multiple minors or whatever it is that you might be interested in. And they don't even have to be related to one another. You could be a French and a physics major, or a music and a neuroscience major. So certainly that is a huge opportunity. So we have about 51 majors on our campus, and about a third of our students are doing a double major. And then another, at least third of our students are pursuing a minor and or another sort of concentration that we offer called a Nexus. I'm going to talk about Nexus a little bit later. Our most popular majors in the last couple of years at Mount Holyoke have been computer science, biology, English, psychology education, international relations, and I don't know if I said English. I feel like I've listed our majors so many times this week that I'm not sure what I have and have not listed at this point. So you can kind of see there's a variety, right? We have some of those hard science, social sciences, and humanities and fine arts, which is very reflective of the campus environment at Mount Holyoke, because we're very evenly split between hard sciences, social sciences, and humanities and arts. I have one statistic on here. We just this past August were rated #1 in the Princeton's Review's professors that get high marks. The reason I wanted to highlight that, not only obviously is it great to be named #1 in such a great category, but also because that was based off of student survey data. So students are surveyed nationally in the Princeton Review for this particular category. And the feedback that our students gave about our faculty really kind of speaked volumes and put Mount Holyoke at #1 at that rating and in that category. So maybe Cass and Courtney will be able to share a little bit more about that later as well. So jumping over to our location, we are located in the western half of Massachusetts. So the state of Massachusetts is in Northeast US, and it's most known, probably you're all familiar with the city of Boston. And we are not in the city of Boston. If you were to take a bus about an hour and a half west of Boston straight, that's when you would hit our campus. So we're in a really beautiful and safe part of the state. We're surrounded by beautiful mountains, and we're in a valley in the Connecticut River. So certainly not a major urban area, but there is a bus that runs from our campus to Boston and back every day. It's not close enough that you would be able to take a day trip, but easy to get to on the weekends if you wanted to do something different. Mount Holyoke also offers kind of school-sponsored trips if you are going with a group that is in a particular major or considering a certain type of career field. So there are opportunities to get to more urban areas for weekend trips. So one great thing about our location is our wonderful neighbors. So I know that you've heard already this afternoon from Smith College. Smith College is another women's college, liberal arts and sciences college. And then our other neighbors are Hampshire College, Amherst College, and the University of Massachusetts. And the reason I mention them is because they're actually really important to the Mount Holyoke experience. We have all kind of joined forces to form what is called the 5 College Consortium. The 5 College Consortium is really just all 5 of our schools are connected in a way that you're able to take classes on all 5 of our campuses. So you can register for classes at any of the 5 colleges. And you can participate in clubs, activities, events, social life on all of these campuses. Our consortium is the biggest consortium in the United States, and we are connected by the biggest free bus system in the United States as well. So it's really easy to get around either early in the morning to head to classes if you're doing that, or late at night if you were socializing, hanging out with friends on other campuses and need a really safe way to get back home after that. So definitely something that's widely utilized. About 3/4 of Mount Holyoke students take at least one class on one of the other college campuses. And I have yet to meet any students who have not participated in the 5 College Consortium socially. So I'm sure Cass and Courtney each have, had clubs or have friends and attended events and things on other campuses too. So pretty much one of the only things that you can't do, we'll talk more about athletics later, is you can't participate in a varsity sport on one of the other campuses, but clubs and intramurals are a little bit more open in that way. All right, so I mentioned we're a women's college. If you're sticking around for the 6 p.m. Eastern time panel, you're gonna hear a lot about women's colleges, but you may not be able to go, so I'm gonna share a little bit more right now. So Mount Holyoke is, like I said, we're a gender inclusive women's college. We believe that it's really important to serve students whose voices otherwise may not be represented proportionally in the classroom and in career fields. And so there are a lot of tangible benefits after you leave Mount Holyoke in a women's college as to your experience in your kind of like direct path in your career field. So students who graduate from women's colleges are disproportionately more successful in their career fields, particularly in male-dominated fields related to STEM, finance, law, politics, business. I have a couple of statistics on the slide so you can kind of, see a little bit of evidence of that as well. But I think one of the main things that is important to keep in mind when you're looking at a women's college and wondering why that's the case, why do women's colleges propel students so intensely? And that's because we're all about, prioritizing women's voices, right? So we do have all genders represented in our classroom experiences. We have students from the 5 colleges coming to our class who identify as male, but we're a space that really does prioritize women's voices. You kind of enter in knowing that you're coming into a space where that is highly valued and important. So our students don't walk around campus feeling like they're in this like really weird alternative women's college universe. It feels like a normal college experience. You see all genders represented all across our campus at all times. But definitely it's a place where you enter knowing that we are here to support one another and empower and uplift one another. But also some of those more kind of tangible experiences coming back to that is that, you know, all of our clubs and leadership positions are run by women or gender minorities or non-binary transgender students. And so you just kind of like accelerate the opportunities that you have to lead and that you have to make a difference and be a change maker on our campus. And so kind of just being in an environment where that's the norm and that's the standard is such that you leave here kind of with that confidence and with that understanding that you belong at the table, no matter what table it is. So the last thing I'll say is that choosing a women's college is unconventional. Most people don't do it. Only 2% of women graduate in the United States from a women's college. And so the other 98%, if they're graduating from college, are attending co-ed institutions. And so it's an unconventional choice. And so you're kind of taking this environment where people fearlessly stepped into something that was maybe different than anyone else that they knew around them and embrace that. And so you're in an environment full entirely of people who aren't afraid to kind of make that bold and unconventional choice. And that creates a really powerful environment for all of our students. All right, so one of the things that's really great about Mount Holyoke is our diversity. Mount Holyoke, and thinking of an audience of students who are coming from outside of the US, I want to highlight our international diversity. 27% of students at Mount Holyoke come from outside of the US. We have about 70 different countries represented. And so that changes the shape of our campus in a variety of ways. That's not just to say that 27% of our students walking around campus are not from the US, but they're adding those experiences into the classroom. So if you're in a history class or an economics class or geography class, you aren't learning alongside people who've all come from a North American background. You're learning alongside students from different continents, from different parts of the world that have different cultural values. And thinking about the United States in particular is a very kind of like independent, individualistic society. And that's not the case everywhere. And so when you're learning about economics or you're learning about politics, you're learning from different types of societies where people might say, wait, why do you do it this way? Or why do they do it that way? And you can kind of learn firsthand from just kind of understanding on a deeper cultural level with the students in your classroom. But our faculty also come from diverse backgrounds as well. About 2/3 of our faculty speak another language other than English, and about 3/4 have also lived abroad outside of the US as well. So certainly the faculty also have had those experiences that they can bring to their classrooms too. All right, so we're going to transition to athletics. I'm going to give a little bit of grounding information about our athletics programs, and then Cass and Courtney are going to share more about their experiences too. So Mount Holyoke, I'm not sure how familiar everyone listening today is with the NCAA and the NCAA divisions, but I know there's been a number of sessions today, including perhaps some people from NCAA talking. So the NCAA is kind of one of the largest intercollegiate athletic programs in the United States. And there's 3 different divisions within that. And so Mount Holyoke is a Division III institution. And so we are one of those, we're in that category where we really emphasize the student athlete, right? So Cass and Courtney are going to talk more about that balance and experience and whether or not they feel they were able to pick the majors and the classes that they wanted and pursue things outside of athletics or what their friends do as well. So you can really have that full experience at a Division III institution. That also being a Division III institution, we are not able to provide any athletic scholarships, okay? So we do have academic and kind of leadership related scholarships at Mount Holyoke. And of course, athletes are eligible for them, but we do not have any athletic related scholarships. We are part of the New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference, or the NEWMAC. I can't name all the schools in the NEWMAC, but you're welcome to kind of Google it, or Cass and Courtney can speak to that a little bit more. The home of our athletic centers is the Kendall Sports and Dance Complex. We also have an equestrian center and an Orchards Golf Club on our campus. We've got 13 varsity sports, which I've listed here. So a couple of highlights from just this past year of athletics, and Cass and Courtney might have their own highlights that they want to add to this. Two of our coaches were named new MAC Coach of the Year. We celebrated 100 years of riding with our equestrian center at Mount Holyoke. We had 122 students named Academic All-Conference Honors, and our average GPA for our student athletes was 3.6. So at institutions like ours, typically student athletes have a higher average GPA than the overall student body. And so if you're nervous about balancing academics and athletics, that's certainly something that our students are very well accustomed to and feel like they're able to kind of take on as well. So, all right, this is where I stop talking for a little bit. I'm gonna, just because Cass is like right below me on the screen, I'm gonna ask Cass to share a little bit more about her experience at Mount Holyoke and as a student athlete.
Yeah, of course. So when I first started searching for schools, I knew I definitely wanted to play field hockey. It was like something important for my college experience. And I actually came across Mount Holyoke at a field hockey recruiting event. And the coach told me that she really encouraged me to take a tour. And I ended up falling in love with the campus in general. All of the professors were really engaging, and I had a really strong connection with the coach and the team. And I ended up finding an interest in different academic fields. Is there anything specifically that you'd like me to talk about, Annie, or just go from year to year?
Go for it. And then I might ask you follow-up questions, but this is yours. Take the mic, Cass.
Awesome. So I really had no idea what I wanted to do when I started. And my advisor at the time, who was a geology professor, encouraged me to talk to different professors. It was awesome. I talked to 10 different professors my first year. And I want to kind of add about how academics and athletics corresponded within my college career. So I felt specifically at Mount Holyoke that I'd be able to balance those two things. So I was really encouraged on making a schedule. My coaches gave me a game schedule. My professors had my game schedule. It was really easy. And then even on top of that, I was still able to join clubs. I was able to have a job. So I really felt that Mount Holyoke was able to let me balance not only academics, but athletics and beyond that as well. Yeah, I don't know. I can talk more.
Cass, tell me a little bit more about what it's like to be a student athlete at Mount Holyoke. What's your day-to-day like, and do you feel like your friends and professors are supportive of your athletic career here?
Yeah, of course. So definitely during season, I would say you have a stricter schedule, but honestly, I feel like I do better in school when I keep myself to a stricter schedule. So once you have the time management skills to balance that, it's honestly way easier than you think. First year was definitely a transition, but all of my professors were extremely supportive. We get our game schedule at least a month before classes start, and my coach makes sure that say if you have a really long lab, if you're in STEM, that if you're a few minutes late to practice, that's no issue. We want to make sure that our classes are scheduled before practices, so we get our practice times earlier as well. And it's just really easy to go about that. And then even during the off seasons, when we're doing non-traditional seasons, say just practices, it's still a lot easier to manage classes and practices when you have that time managing schedule. And there's so many resources on campus as well, tutoring or the career development center that can help you get those time management skills too.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's hear from Courtney. Can you share a little bit more about your student athlete experience here?
Sure. So I started my recruiting process with Mount Holyoke actually during my senior year of high school, because I've been looking at some other schools and I came across Mount Holyoke kind of late. So I sent a recruit me form, which at least used to be on the athletics website. I haven't looked recently, but I filled that out to contact our head coach, Dave Allen, and then found out that my high school swim coach is actually friends with him. And so I was able to get in contact with him pretty fast. And that weekend, I was able to go watch a practice at Mount Holyoke, a Saturday morning practice, and then meet the team and talk with Dave. and go on a tour with admissions, which was a great way to get involved, starting to see what the community looked like. And then I also had an overnight, an official overnight on campus later, and that was a really great chance for me to bond with the team. And I got to go to some classes and see what that experience was like, and I got to stay overnight with a team member. And that really drove me to want to apply early decision to Mount Holyoke, and that's how I ended up here, which is wonderful. In my fourth year, we have always competed in the NUMAC Swim Dive Championship, which is either at MIT or WPI, the other one. And that's a great chance for us to come together with the other schools of the NUMAC and compete. We have Wellesley and Smith in our conference as well. So we have some women's college, seven sister camaraderie there, which is always wonderful. And our dive coach is one of the NUMAC Coach of the Year that was named this year. And we're very proud to have her as our coach. And our divers also generally place at NUMACs as well, which is a big deal.
Awesome. No, go ahead. I was just saying that's really cool.
So we're very also proud of our academic achievements on the team. We generally hover around that 3.6 with a lot of academic all-conference teammates on the team. This year, I actually went abroad in the fall, so I didn't count this year for that, but the year before I had it. And also you have the ability to go abroad even on the team. My sport is a winter sport, so we start in September basically, but we run for about 5 months, September to the end of February. And during that time, you have holiday breaks and things, but we come back early in January, basically on January 1st. Usually there's a training trip. Things are a little different now, but theoretically we went to Florida, and we'd be there during J term, which is the period of time between January 1st and the start of our semester, which is about in late January. And that's a great time because basically it's just athletes on campus that are competing and practicing. And so I always enjoy that. But since we have a season that spans 2 semesters, it can be a little bit weird to figure out how you want to go abroad. So I chose the fall so that I was able to compete in our championships in February. I'm also glad that I was actually able to go abroad fully. So I'm glad I chose the fall now. And is there anything else you want me to speak to specifically, Annie?
I would love to hear, we'll start with you, Courtney, but from both of you, just more about like the community of being on a team. What's that like? Are you friends outside of the team? Do you have friends who are not on your team? What's it like just with your community and your friendships with teammates and with more students on campus?
Sure. I have a lot of my friends on the team. I've noticed this during the pandemic that I really have a lot of friends on the team specifically. I have a couple that aren't, and then some more acquaintances in my classes, but we spend so much time together during the week and we also have team dinners together after practice basically every night. So you become really close with those specific people, and they also understand the experience too. But a lot of my friends also have friends that are not on the team. Just me in particular, lots of friends on the team and in athletics in general. I chose my first year, to have a roommate pairing with another student athlete so that there was an understanding about needing to go to bed early, having these practices. For swim and dive, we have a 6:30 practice twice a week, which is really fun. But you have to have an understanding roommate for while you're creeping around at 6 a.m. Before you have to go to practice. And so I was paired with a soccer player, and we are still friends to this day. And I've always roomed with an athlete because I found that's like the best lifestyle that we understand. And also with our community, we have a policy called 2448, which is our alcohol policy and stuff. So you can't have alcohol 24 hours before practice or 48 hours before a game, which for our underage players, not exactly the biggest deal, but for our players of age, it's just a way for us to be able to focus when we're in season and not work. And so there's not a lot of that partying featured in season, which can be different from other college experiences, but we really try to focus on doing the best for our bodies and how to be the best student athletes we can be, which I find is a really great atmosphere to have.
Thank you. Cass, do you have anything to add or share about your experience?
Yeah, of course. So I'm also friends with a lot of people on my team, and I'm friends with other people in athletics as well. I also roomed with an athlete, and I think it's just one thing because we all it's one thing to understand what an athlete has to do, especially when you're living with someone. So I would highly recommend checking out. We have a living learning community that's specifically for athletics, and so that just sponsors events in the residence halls for athletics, and you'd be rooming with other athletes that kind of know what you have to do. And some awesome things that my team does is not only Mount Holyoke has a lot of traditions, but we also have traditions in our team, which I absolutely love, and we're continuing most of those traditions even while we're not on campus. We have a tradition called Secret Sisters. So every year we get a secret sister. So it's a person on the team and they don't know who their secret sister is. So we kind of write them, little letters. We write them, we get them little gifts before games. So now we're kind of doing it as secret pen pals, and we just have our coach's address as the return address. So it's still really fun. And there's so many other traditions that we do together, we'll do milk and cookies together. That's a tradition that we have in the residence halls. Our team will go hiking together on Mountain Day. We sit together during convocation, which is my favorite tradition. So it's a really great community in athletics.
So could you each also talk to, and actually I'll stop screen sharing for a little bit. I should have done that before. Could you each talk to your experience, both just in general at a women's college, and then also do you have any and I know you both have only attended Mount Holyoke, so you don't know maybe what it's like in a co-ed institution, but do you have any kind of sense of how it might be, what some of the benefits of that might be, being a student athlete at a women's college? So just kind of in general, and then if you have anything to add about the student athlete experience at a women's college.
I can start with this one. So as I really wanted to attend in a women's college, even during high school. That was just something that I really considered. And I think it's just because you're more of a top priority. I feel like I'm so much more confident in the class, and it just affects you in more ways that you don't really realize until you're older. I feel like I'm able to speak up more in a crowd. I am in a business field, so I feel really welcomed that I'm at a women's college, being able to actually be the majority here, which is great. And then as an athlete, specifically as a field hockey player, there's field times. We don't have to share the field with men's teams. We're a top priority at Mount Holyoke, which is awesome. All the equipment is made for us. The trainers are able to work on our bodies, and that's an experience that I didn't get in high school. So it's really, really empowering on the field and off the field.
That's great. I did go to a co-ed institution. I was a student athlete, and we were constantly splitting, in my case, track time and trainers and equipment. There was huge lines at some of the equipment and some of that kind of thing. So that's really cool to consider it in that way. I'm sorry, Courtney, go ahead.
No problem. Much like Cass, I really enjoy not having to split times for our facilities. So for the pool, for example, it's a kind of a different experience swimming with men sometimes. And we get that experience at bigger meets and things like that, but which is always a bit interesting when we get into the warm-up pool. But one of the nice things about our pool is it's an 8-lane pool. So, and with the size of our team, we maximum have about 3 swimmers per lane. And we also have a separate diving well. So that allows a lot of space for us to be able to practice, and it's very comfortable to be able to do that, much better in a crowded pool. And additionally, it's great to have the understanding that the athletic trainers can work with us in a certain way, and we're supported by our peers as and not necessarily thought of as an afterthought, which I felt when I was touring some other co-ed institutions that was kind of a problem. And one of the things I've realized from being home and being able to talk with some of my other friends that go to co-ed institutions is that being prioritized as we are is actually really rare in most situations. So I'm very grateful that we are able to have that experience.
That's great. Well, thank you both so much. I'm going to go ahead and jump back, talk a little bit more about Mount Holyoke. And then if we have time at the end, it would be great if you guys could share a little bit more about your experience. So we'll just see how we're doing with time. Okay. All right. How's my slide look? You can see it again? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so all of this, we've talked a lot about like the groundwork at Mount Holyoke. What are some of the academic characteristics, consortia opportunities, student athlete opportunities, international diversity. But let's talk a little bit about what all of this leads to after you leave Mount Holyoke. In addition to some of the kind of unique programs that we have. So one thing that I want to highlight first is in the middle of this bubble, we guarantee internship or research funding for every single Mount Holyoke student. So we have this program, it's called the Link Initiative. The Link Initiative has a lot of different branches and does a lot of different things, but it's most well known for what's called the Link funding. And so our Link funding is this internship and research funding program. So every single student is guaranteed at least $3,000, and depending on like where in the world you're going, it can be up to $5,000 toward an unpaid internship. So, you know, a lot of students, you hear as you're going through this college recruiting process, how important it is to have internships, to do research, how important that is for you in setting yourself up for a career after college. But what you often don't hear is that these things are very commonly unpaid, right? So if you were to get your dream internship in San Francisco, California, or Tokyo, Japan, or Santiago, Chile, like, how are you going to pay for your plane ticket to get there? How are you going to find housing and pay for that if it's an unpaid internship? And so Mount Holyoke wants to remove that financial barrier from you, not for you to be able to say yes to that internship. And so we provide funding for you to be able to do that. And so that kind of ties into our academic coursework in a little bit of a different way. We don't just say, okay, here's some money, go off and do an internship and call it a day. You're working with our career development center and faculty in advance of that internship and thinking about how you're preparing for that. And then you're doing a reflective experience in a symposium, presenting in a symposium when you come back. And so we're tying that internship coursework that you're doing into your academic experience. We also have a number of what we call Nexus programs, and Nexus programs are basically similar to like a minor or a concentration, where you are taking that internship or research experience and applying that directly to your coursework. And so all of our Nexus programs require an internship. And then you're taking some coursework throughout your 4 years in Mount Holyoke, and then you have a concentration in something like global business or journalism and media studies or law, public policy, and human rights. And so we have a number of these programs designated in that way as well. We have one in engineering too. So all of this really sets our students up really well for after they leave Mount Holyoke. 98% of our students are either in graduate school or employed within 6 months of leaving Mount Holyoke. And of course, I have some of the high flyer big names on our slide here. And people always ask, okay, when people graduate from Mount Holyoke, what do they go and do? And the answer is all sorts of things, right? So, you know, some of our students are on a path at Mount Holyoke. They know that they want to go to medical school or law school or into finance. And some of them aren't quite sure. And maybe they majored in art and then they decided to kind of pivot and learn more about curation, or they pivoted and went into education or whatever the case may be. So there isn't always like a direct line for our students because guess what? You change a lot during college and after college and throughout your whole life. And so we certainly are a place that really prepares students. I don't know if anyone remembers, way back on my first slide, I had a note that said 100 alumni who live in 140 different countries. And so we have a very global group of alums, and we have about 36,000 alums around the world in 140 different countries. And so one thing that we offer is a connection with that, right? So our alums, alums of women's colleges in general are fiercely supportive of current students at women's colleges. And so whether you are interested in reaching out to alums in a specific field that you're interested in, or maybe in a specific region, whether it's just to help make a connection and find a community there, certainly that is something that our alums are ready and willing to help you do. So I work with some of our alums who volunteer for admission, and pretty much all of them every year look forward to participating in our traditions. And one of our fall traditions that we have each year is called Mountain Day. And so this year we're remote. And so we had 24 hours of Mountain Day this year, and encourage everyone in our community, faculty, staff, students, and alums to go for a walk or a hike. And then another big part of our Mount Holyoke Day tradition is ice cream. And so, and even in a regular year, every year our alums get together and they have ice cream in celebration of Mountain Day. They pick their own Mountain Day because the real Mountain Day is always a surprise. And so this community, it follows you throughout your whole life. And so there's alum networks in every city that I travel to on behalf of Mount Holyoke. I meet with alums. And so you always have this community, whether it's somebody who graduated last year or somebody who graduated 50 years ago, they come back and they're here for you and they support you. All right, so a little bit about admission at Mount Holyoke. We have 3 application deadlines. It's hard for me to believe because in this pandemic where everything's virtual, I can't tell you what season it is, what time of day it is anymore. I don't know what's going on, but I'm looking at the calendar and our first early decision deadline is coming up on November 16th. And we have a second early decision deadline on January 4th. Now, early decision are binding deadlines, which means you can only apply to one early decision school. And if you're admitted, you will enroll at that school. Regular decision is our biggest decision deadline. That is January 15th. The majority of our applicants apply regular decision because, they're still thinking they want to look at their options and they have until the spring to make their decision. For admission, Mount Holyoke has been test optional for about 20 years. So that's a huge topic of discussion right now. We do not require SAT, ACT scores. So if you're nervous about the fact that maybe you didn't get to take them, or if you're not sure whether or not your score is good enough because you only took it really early or you can only do it once, that's okay. We're test optional. You get to decide whether or not you're going to submit your test scores on any year at Mount Holyoke, and especially this year. So Mount Holyoke does offer both merit-based scholarships, like I said towards the beginning, based on academics, based off of your admission application. And we also offer need-based financial aid for international students. So we are a private college in the United States, which means that the sticker price, the advertised price for Mount Holyoke, is enormous. We're at about $70,000 to $75,000 US dollars per year when you're kind of thinking about all of the expenses. And so the majority of our families do not have that in their pocket to pay for 4 years. And so we do offer need-based financial aid for our both our domestic and international students as well. And for all admitted students, we do guarantee to meet 100% of your demonstrated need. So we take your financial aid application and we're able to kind of look and say, okay, they need this much in order to say yes to Mount Holyoke. So then that's the amount that we're going to provide. All right, so that's the majority of what I have from my portion of the presentation. We do have a couple of minutes left. And so I'm going to just let Cass and Courtney, I'm going to ask them a couple more questions and let them kind of speak to their experience for the rest of the time here. Let me stop sharing my screen as well. All right, so Cass and Courtney, could you tell me a little bit, I'm going to go back to athletics and ask a question. How do you as student athletes either give back to the Mount Holyoke community or a community outside of Mount Holyoke in our area or more nationally? Do your teams do any sort of volunteerings or host any events for other people? Do you have any experiences to share for that?
Yeah, I can share. We do a program for teaching swim lessons that involves a lot of members of the Mount Holyoke faculty and staff, family, like their children, as well as our broader community in the Connecticut River Valley. And so we teach kids basically from babies all the way through teens how to swim. We don't do so much adult yet, but sometimes we'll do private lessons with them. And it's basically to raise money with for our team, but also it's a great way to get kids in the water from our community. Also not directly affiliated with our team, but a lot of our team members participate, is Project Splash, which is a volunteer-based program that allows students to connect with children with disabilities and teach them how to swim. So you could have lots of varying levels of swimming there. I've had kids who like just kind of put their feet in the water, and others who really want to actually swim and go underwater, and you just kind of work with whatever their goals are. But that's a program that's free for those kids to be able to get them in the water every week, which we really value. And sometimes we also volunteer at local shelters, as we have done for Martin Luther King Day before, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We've done some volunteer projects around there, and some volunteer projects in Florida as well, getting involved with the wildlife and things there.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's a lot. You guys do a lot. And it sounds like the theme of swimming ties a lot of it together, but not all of it. So very cool. Cass, has field hockey done things like that? Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, we volunteer a lot with Girls Inc. So that's another program just to get like women in sports. We volunteer with Girls on the Run. It's a local Pioneer Valley sports for girls who are like running, and we also like do gear drives. So sometimes we'll give away like sneakers, field hockey sticks, and like different equipment to the local community for like people who are playing. And just recently this summer we started doing a fundraiser. We did the Athletes Taking Action fundraiser challenge. So we donated to Girls Inc. and we also donated to the I think it was like the Association of Black Business Professionals in Springfield. So we're working on a lot of like social justice work right now within our team as well. And I'm like so proud of that. I love that our team like is acknowledging what's going on in the world, and we're recognizing that and trying to change that for the better.
Mount Holyoke definitely has a history of social justice and aiming towards social change and equality. And so that's definitely something that we see throughout our athletic programs and some of the volunteering that individual teams have done, or teams as a whole have done. So I know that Mount Holyoke has had some signature events for student athletes, and I'm cheating and looking down at some notes that I had here. And I know we have some coming up as well that we're offering even virtually. And so I'm not sure if any of you have attended or if either of you have attended any of these things, but I know that we've had career development skills workshops for students. We've had conflict seminar for student conflict resolution seminars for students to like kind of navigate some of those. Of course, conflicts arise on your team, but then of course in life too. And so applying some of those skills. We've had first years have had seminars on wellness to kind of help with balancing that experience. As I mentioned, career development, career transition skills, and all of these things are quintessential parts of being a student athlete. But Mount Holyoke really kind of wants to seek and embrace that student athlete experience and make sure that our athletes are kind of considering some of these skills that they're gaining and figuring out how can I use some of these skills both right now on my team and then also in the future. So I don't know, can either one of you speak to that experience at all? Have you attended any of these seminars or have anything to share?
We just had a seminar, I think it was yesterday, that was the Career Development Center working with student athletes on how to work on their resume and market themselves better using their college athletic experience. And so that was a really great way for us to get together. All different teams were there and think about how our athletic experience can be used to help us get into grad school or get jobs, because as a senior, I'm definitely thinking about that now, and how to market that is something that I really want to work on, because you dedicate so much of your undergrad time to being on this team. I think for swimming, it's like 15 to 20 hours a week, not counting meets and stuff. And so that's a lot of your time is spent doing this. So you want to be able to accurately represent that. And it's so great that the CDC, Career Development Center, just now it's really confusing, works with us and wants to work with the athletes on it, and always encourages us to have personal appointments with the staff of the Career Development Center as well.
And I know that our athletics department has been holding what they call like mindfulness Mondays, which I think is really important because especially now that we're only remote, it's kind of like hard to like not being able to see your team, not being able to practice, and just everything going on in the world in general. So being able to like practice mindfulness every week, I think is really important, especially for all of the athletes right now that aren't with their teams and might not have like a regular practice schedule like they usually do.
Well, great. Well, Cass and Courtney, thank you both for being here today and sharing more about your experience as students and as athletes at Mount Holyoke. And thanks to everyone who's watching for coming to learn a little bit more about the experience at Mount Holyoke. We were thrilled to be able to share more with you and hope to be able to be in touch. I do have my information up on the CollegeTrackr website. So if you want to get in touch, I can help you get in touch with Cass or Courtney or any coaches as well. We would be more than happy to do that. But have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.